Ladies and gentlemen, our spies return triumphant once more from Paradox, and we have good news. We have found the plans for the Swiss alt history focus tree, so let's get going. This is what we're looking at. This is the Swiss focus, starting all the way at the top with the guiding principles of the Swiss and leading down a leftmost branch of, let's say, extreme democracy. In short, we will be heading down these focuses that everyone shares until we start fortifying our borders somewhere around here, and that is where things branch off for the first alt history path. We will buy some German planes, we will store some allied gold, and then we get to this one, the nice red one. I'll find you a better picture. The Gotthard Bund. This is where things really go off the rails. Now this is the political part of the branch for Switzerland, but it essentially goes, well, it goes hard. Using the Gotthard Bund, we unlock a series of different focuses. The funny ones are at the left. Press for Vorarlberg, that is a new Austrian province that we can kindly ask to join us. And then we have two paths here. Preempt the Anschluss. I think you know where this is going. This leads into demands for the Italian Alps, the French Alps, an Alpine redoubt, an Alpine empire. This is where the war goals are. This is where Switzerland decides it wants all of the mountains, and then it will bring democracy to all of its neighbors. This is gonna be such a Meanie Path, but so funny. An alternative that goes less hard is the new Eidgenossenschaft that will also lead to an expansion of the Confederation, but probably a little less aggressively. Essentially, this is more focused on getting on-map decisions, but more on that later. We will then empower the council, make the president for life, and then apparently shoot him and put Guizon in charge. Guizon, this man is a professional soldier, bit of a politician, a national figure. This path leads down the Romanian path, where you can just flip sides. Once you've gone down Guizon's coup, you can then return to the old Switzerland and just pretend nothing happened, and you sit there with all of your new stuff and pretending nothing happened. Fun fact, all of this democratic, still democratic as hell, yo. Now, the Gotthard Bund has some more funny options, namely Switzerland on the offensive. This is a very cool focus. What it does is turn all those militia, we talked about that in the first dev diary, Switzerland will only have access to militia that can be improved through the focus tree. They will have a set number of units available. They will have a certain template, certain stats that can all be improved through the focus tree, mostly the historical path. What this does, this focus, turns those militia into actual regular units, but keeps all of the bonuses. So all of the limitations fall away, unable to recruit, etc., but you still keep the template. You can alter it, you get all the bonuses for it, but you get like the best of both worlds. And that leads to, well, some funky business like the Swiss Navy and planes warfare, something the Swiss are not accustomed to. So this is the Meanie Path of getting... I love how this path is going to go already. Just look at that. More command power, more army experience, and all your Swiss citizen militia will become regular infantry divisions. Pretty cool. Full-time soldiers doing their part. And remember when I talked about the new Eidgenossenschaft? This is what it gets us, a bunch of on-map decisions. Essentially, we start some sort of information campaign in our neighboring provinces, where we get a apparently 50% chance of getting them to flip to our influence. I don't think these numbers are correct, but what that does is then lead to a new decision. You can see that one over here, the one that costs 250, and that one will send a demand to the country saying, that province voted to join Switzerland. We'll have that, please, thank you. If they say yes, great, you've just gotten a province for free. If they say no, well, you got a war goal and a claim. Time to go get it. I don't know just how well that's gonna work when you're surrounded by people like France with a large army, Italy with a large army, and Germany with a large army, but it does offer gameplay opportunities. Now, fortunately, this path will not just be locked to a small military. To actually achieve those vast military goals, we will have access to the Federal Police Intelligence Department, and that leads further down here. You can see to the SPAB, I guess. And then all the way down here, it will lead to a shared branch that it will share with the Fascist Path, focusing on military matters, improving your garrisons, improving your war economy, just more factories, better troops. All in all, this will help you bring your country ready to the fight. And speaking of the fight, you know that preempt Anschluss? Yeah, you know we're gonna protect Austria from German aggression by annexing Austria, for the good of Austria, of course. Oh, this is gonna be such a hilarious path. But of course there are more options. We have done the leftmost path, which is the aggressive democratic path, but there is more to be had here. There are more ways to join the Allies. As we can see here, this is the other democratic path, closer democratic ties, connect to the Maginot Line, etc. You work down here. And then we have 3 options to join the Allies in their fight. The center one is the most straightforward one. You join the UK as a member of the Allies, and then you continue on down to focus, getting all the bonuses here. Thunder on the Valleys, Arsenal of the Alps. Essentially, you turn Switzerland into some sort of bastion of democracy in Europe, ready to strike back at the fascists. Then we have a secret pact with the Allies. This one comes from an espionage branch, and it is flavored as such. Everything you do until you decide to actively join the war will be based on subversion. You will have espionage missions that will boost your allies. You will have saboteurs. You will have a volunteer force, but you will not actually commit to the war effort until you finish the focus down here, jump into action, and the Swiss army goes to war. Unless you're an exiled government. You know, yeah, the fact that this is here might be a bit of a tell. And then we have another less glorious path. Join France. Yes, I know, nobody wants to join France, but if you do this, you become a member of the Allies, and France's lapdog. This will turn you into a French puppet. You can get out of it eventually, but by becoming the Second Helvetic Republic, after the First Helvetic Republic, founded by Napoleon. So yeah, I don't like being someone's lapdog, but it's nice for the flavor. And seeing this here, Bueno Ha and the entire sub-branch here, fully focused on preparing for the resistance to fight the Germans tooth and nail. This will be a, well, of course it's all going to be unhistorical because Switzerland didn't do anything, but this will be a more realistic path for a democratic Switzerland. We don't always need to just conquer the world, right? And you know, I said that we have secret options to support our allies. Well, here's a little look at that. For about a small cost of 100 PP, we will be able to send the UK, in this case, 10% more civilian industry, 10% more military industry, and we, in exchange, will get some army experience, navy experience, air experience, and command power. It's gonna depend on if this is worth it, considering you're helping the AI, who is inherently useless, but you get a nice bonus out of it in the experience department. And now that we have talked about the democratic paths, there are other ways for Switzerland to go to war. This is the less historical path of Swiss fascism. It all starts with banning the Swiss Communist Party, withdrawing from the League of Nations, and then going further down the rabbit hole until you hold the Nazi gold, which I'm fairly sure they did historically, but okay. And then we have the National Front, and all the way down here. Essentially, this entire tree focuses on slowly turning Switzerland away from its democratic roots and more aligned with fascism. Like, they don't want to, but they can see the way the world's turning, Germany overrunning it, and you know what? It's better to just not be crushed. Just play along. Just play along, guys. That's the entire premise here. And then leading down to closer ties with the German Reich, of course, abandoning neutrality, because who needs neutrality? And then we need to pick a leader. There are 2 leaders with 2 vastly different approaches. We have Tobler and we have Henne. Tobler is all for slowly turning the country around and trying to ease the population and the nation into accepting fascism, accepting Germany, and joining the Axis along the way. That's all well and good, but what if you don't want to do that? Well, you can promote Hanna and become a German puppet, and you can ask for stuff. I don't think I want to play that, but I can see the appeal. It's just, why ask for things when you can pay the iron price and take it? Other than that, it leads to a very, very nice military branch here, where we can either specialize in armored divisions. I like tanks, I just don't know how well they'll work in the forests and the mountains of Switzerland, but the industrial production at the bottom might be worth it. But what I really like is the Alpine specialization. Swiss heavy planes, transports, air research, and air production, those are all okay. But down there, Mountaineer paratroopers, a special kind of paratrooper that outperforms every other unit in the mountains. This is going to be hilarious for the memes. Overall, like, this has potential. It has a lot of potential. I don't know what the petition of the 200 is. I don't know what Case West is. I'm going to assume the invasion of France. But overall, very interested. We will be very closely aligned with Germany while we do this. I prefer usually to go my own way, but this is a good option if you want to be part of a faction. And it's not the Allies, because the Allies are just terrible. I like that banning the Communist Party only upsets the Soviets, and actually the UK is quite on board with it. They quite like that. Okay then. In this little section, they outline why Switzerland, unlike almost every other country that gets one of these alt history paths, will not go through a civil war, and it's quite simple. The terrain sucks. The terrain sucks, and the terrain sucks. Like, Switzerland is too small to have a meaningful, large civil war. It's all mountains, so it will be super grindy and not mobile, and it will just take forever. And it's not interesting because it's so small and the terrain makes everything so slow. And I can get on board with that. You don't need to add a civil war if it doesn't add anything to the gameplay experience. It would just be a terrible experience. This is good. I like that. Also, for some reason, we get an evil Saint Bernard. Dogs aren't evil. Dogs aren't even at all. Good thing this is the end of it. Almost made me feel bad there. Anyway, let me know what you think of this Swiss Dev Diary. I recommend you check it out. It has been a difficult one to put a video to because it is a little bit difficult to follow along, but I definitely recommend you check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. And what are you most excited for in Switzerland? I am very hyped for these alt focus trees. Anyway, this has been me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you love the next one as well.